Today we're going to be talking about the very concept that's been ravaging. Today we're going to be talking about OpenGate, and I'm going to be showing you how you can get the look of OpenGate in your editor, whether it's Final Cut, Adobe, Premiere, or DaVinci. Yes, you do not get the pixels and scalings and everything, but just the look of it is what I'm trying to give to you. Now, this is not by any means going to be OpenGate, but you can recreate this in post just by doing one or two things. Now, before we get into that, let's look at a couple cameras that will inform how we sort of make this happen in post-production. The ARRI Alexa Mini LF, or the Alexa 35. It's OpenGate full sensor in 4.5K or 4.6K. The Sony Venice 6K or the Venice 2. This comes with a 6K in the Venice or an 8.6K on the Venice 2 OpenGate, depending on the model that you choose. Full frame, dual base ISO. What I'm trying to set up here is if you have a camera that records in 6K, well, maybe we do have more resolution. We have a lot to work with to recreate the OpenGate look. Once again, if you're going to be doing this in post, I recommend that you film in the highest possible resolution that you have. If your camera films in 4K or 6K like the Sony a7 IV, we might be able to optically induce the look of OpenGate. Now, I believe that you can do this if you follow the steps in any of your editor of choice, but I'm going to be using Final Cut Pro because that is what I used to edit. Step one is to first of all film in the highest possible resolution. Of course, on the Sony a7 IV, that is 4K, so I'm going to be using that to film. Once I get that, considering that this downsamples from a 6K to film 4K, I think I have enough information to be able to work with there. Now, next thing I want to do is to go into Final Cut Pro and create a custom project. Open the project settings, go to custom, and then type in 6000 by 4000. This is going to be simulating the look of the OpenGate in 4:3 aspect ratio. If I want to do a 3:2, which I don't really fancy, I would go 4000 by 3000. So I type that in 6000 by 4000, and then I'm able to match the look of the OpenGate that would be usually recorded in any of those cameras. Like, once again, taking the Alexa and the Venice as a reference point. But why use OpenGate in the first place? Across YouTube, everybody is talking about OpenGate. OpenGate this, OpenGate that, Lumix cameras, Sony cameras, ARRI cameras, Red, and everything. So exactly what is OpenGate? So basically, OpenGate means that the camera is going to be using the entire sensor area to capture every image. Every pixel is going to be used. In a lot of cameras, it uses the crop section like the 16:9 or the 239:1. But in most cinema cameras, for example, the ARRI Alexa, the Sony Venice, they have a sensor that is quite larger than the standard recording posts or aspect ratios. Now, normally the camera crops to fit a desired format, but in OpenGate, you have access to everything that the sensor sees from top to bottom, edge to edge. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's always a good thing, and I'm going to go into that. The first reason that you would want to use OpenGate is because you want the maximum resolution. Now, because you're going to be using every pixel, you're going to be using everything that the sensor has. This is very, very good, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of VFX work or a lot of reframing in post-production and things like that. You capture all that information. The second reason is because there is flexibility in the aspect ratio that you can deliver. Now, if you have a very high image, you can crop to 239:1, or you can crop to 185:1, different CinemaScope aspect ratios. You can do square, you can do vertical, you can do whatever, because you are getting a very huge canvas to work from, all from the same master plate. The third one is because you are future-proofing your work. More pixels equals better upscaling, better stabilization, and better archiving, especially in like Premiere Pro, like Final Cut. When you slap on that stabilization and it starts to wobble, the bigger the canvas that you have, the more you're able to move or zoom in to avoid those wobblings. And the last one is vertical or social formats. This is perhaps the biggest reason why we're even having this conversation. In today's day and age where everybody wants to go social, this OpenGate format is perfect. It's perfect when you need to pull multiple frames or multiple versions from just one frame, whether you want to do this for YouTube or for TikTok, or you want to make vertical ads in 9:16 and things like this. So these are primarily the four functions or the four benefits of having OpenGate. This is what you get. Now, is it all hype? Let's look at this. The first downside that nobody is talking about is that you get more data, which means that you have to spend more on saving because they're bigger files. More data equals to bigger files. And a lot of people are not going to be talking about this. OpenGate will eat your storage up pretty fast. So you need strong, fast cards that will enhance your post-production workflow. The second thing is rolling shutter as well. Now, some cameras they can show more rolling shutter when you are using the full sensor. For example, I believe this happens in the Lumix, and I believe this also happens in the Blackmagic Pixels as well. The third one is the lens coverage. Now, make sure that your lens will cover the full sensor. A lot of lenses are not designed to cover a large format like that. Most of the lenses that we have just sort of cover the general standard 16:9 sensor area that most cameras would usually film on. Now, with all of that being said, the look of OpenGate, it's still quite desirable. I personally like it. Now, while most of the cameras that people are going to be using will not be recording in full true OpenGate, what I want to show you is how you can fake. It's a cheat code, the OpenGate look, by manually setting your project settings in your editor and then filming in the highest resolution on your camera and then reframing that in post-production. Once again, this video is not necessarily to claim anything that has not pre-existed. I am just saying that for the look of OpenGate, if you like it, you don't have to get an OpenGate camera, because outside of the vertical, maybe you do. That's left to you. I think you're going to have to figure that out. But if you want the OpenGate look and you already have an incredible camera that you have, this is how you do that in post-production. Keywords: 6000 by 4000, 3x2. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap up this one for today, and I will see you the next time that I feel like making another video. My voice is a little bit deep because, I don't know, it's kind of early in the morning and I'm waking up to just drop this jams. Bye. Yep, that means we're rolling now. That means that we are rolling.